Mark Suzman, CEO of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Thank you for talking to Doha Debates. First of all, why are you here? Not just at the forum, but in the region.
Well, we're here because we think it's an incredibly important moment to get people to understand that climate change is not just a problem for the future, but it's happening now, and it's affecting the very poorest people on the planet, who are generally smallholder farmers, rural people in Africa and Asia. And that's a lot of where we work on as the Gates Foundation. We're hoping to get people excited, energized, and committed to work on that here.
As much as I love being at this conference, and I've learned a lot in the first day or two, it seems like we go through the same motions year after year. It's not enough. Not enough change is happening quickly enough. Are you a disruptor? Are you trying to get things to change on a faster scale?
Absolutely. What you need to do is move this from talking to doing, and doing in real time. So what we try to do at the Gates Foundation is to say, first, shine a spotlight. These are people already dealing with more floods, more droughts. Their livelihoods depend on being able to farm, eat the food they grow, sell that, send their kids to school. There are hundreds of millions of people across Africa and Asia being disrupted. So what we want to do is there are programs we can do right now. For example, one of the ones we're announcing here today is a way you can get drought-resistant chickens, if you didn't know something like that existed, that they actually are able to live and grow in tough, arid conditions, who can produce eggs and meat. That provides nutrition for smallholder households, and it provides income because they can sell the products. That's a disruptive thing right now. It aims at women farmers who mostly do poultry. So we can do that now. And then what we can also do is make sure we're investing in research into things like, what are the new drought and flood resistant crops that we're going to need to grow?
Right.
So take a crop like cassava, which is not something rich countries eat much of or do, but is a big staple crop for Africa. We can grow and do things that are really exciting with that.
You and I are both from very privileged countries. We live privileged lives. It's very hard for us to put ourselves in the shoes or even in the mental state of these smallholder farmings you're talking about. But we need to be more compassionate in our thinking, especially when it comes to foundations and to the work that you do. So how do you do that? There's the work, and you're very good at telling me about that, but how do you become more compassionate?
Well, first of all, you have to try and understand the stories of the people. One of the things we do is try and actually showcase some of those smallholder farmers and what they do and how they do it. They're incredibly inspirational. I'm lucky in my job because I get to go and meet them in the countries where they work, on the farms where they're working, and they are incredibly hardworking, inspirational people who are just looking for, help me get the tools, help me get the credit, help me get some of those drought-resistant crops and seeds, and we will do the work ourselves. They're entrepreneurial, they're energetic, and that helps deal with the consequences of climate change now, even while the world has to tackle the long-term issues.
Well, we all know that climate change is a big issue. It's going to affect the African continent more than any other because of the disadvantages. It's already doing it. So the initiative you're speaking of today, are you doing sci-fi kind of really quirky stuff, or is this real implementable change on the ground?
No, today's initiative, the starting bit of it is the implementable change on the ground. I mentioned those, the technical term is dual-use poultry, which sounds kind of weird. But really what it is these super chickens that can work in places like Ethiopia and Nigeria. We've already tested it out. We've seen huge increases in nutrition and income. That's the kind of really practical set of steps that you can take now. So that's the first step. But we need to do both and. We need not only to roll out the projects that we've tested and that we know work, we need much more exciting innovations like that are going to work for the future, whether it's about cows or maize or you pick it, but agriculture actually is where the action happens for the world's very poorest.
Especially when we're talking about food security for the world's most sort of poorest or disadvantaged communities. My final question to you, if I come and speak to you in 3 years, am I going to be talking to you about the success of this project and the way that you have been able to enhance the capabilities of these smallholder farmings, or are we going to be talking about the next big disaster?
Hopefully we're going to be talking about not just the success of this project, but hopefully 3, 4, 5 other similar projects that I'm going to be able to show, demonstrate, and maybe even introduce you to some of the people who've been able to take advantage of that. And hopefully we will be addressing the crisis. There are going to be more crises. The reality of climate change, the temperature fluctuations we're having mean more crises in terms of these shocks, droughts, and floods, and that doesn't even include food price shocks like the Ukraine war. They are unfortunately going to be a reality for the next couple of decades, and so we need to make the world more resilient and able to overcome those, and then do more than overcome this, to actually come out of poverty and look after themselves and their families.
Well, Mark Suzman, thank you so much for talking to me.
Great, thank you. It's a pleasure.